Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This episode is going to be more of a story time because today I had a pretty big download on stuff that I've been processing, and I want to show you the threads of how energy can work in our lives and how sometimes it takes time to integrate the threads or the energies that have presented themselves. So this is going to start back in February 18th and 19th was my last ceremony with ayahuasca. And in that ceremony, I have not shared this, but as I always tell you guys, I'm able after the ceremony to kind of just spend the rest of the night just talking with my higher self, my fractals, my I would say my alien beings. And in that, they showed me, this is how it came in. I saw a little girl dancing kind of over here. And it's weird because I would say it's in my head, but in ayahuasca, it's not, there's no difference between energy in your head or energy you're seeing because it's like that real, I guess, because you're a part of it. So I saw this energy of this, I would say 4-year-old girl dancing over on this side of me. And when you're in the medicine, she brings up things that you have a choice. You can either explore or not explore. But when I saw that energy, I assumed that it was an energy of a child coming in. And weirdly, up into this ceremony, a few of my energy tribe sisters had said that they do see an energy of a child around me. And, I'm at the point in my life where I actually am grateful that I don't have children, and it has taken many, many, many years to get to that point. But I also feel that if an energy wanted to come through this body, I would be also accepting and happy to embrace that. So I'm definitely not trying to have children, but I also feel like, like the energy and cosmos work in mysterious ways. So I'm open to that. So as I saw this little girl dancing, I assumed it was a child that wanted to come in. And I've had this before in my Aya experiences because up until I think this last one, I've always started my cycle on the night of a ceremony, which is very strange because I will either have a super long cycle or a short one, and it always coincides that I release on the first night of ceremony. Weird. So sometimes it's been that I'm super late on my period. And in those cases, the last time this happened, I asked, is there an energy that wants to come in? And there was, and it was a male, so weird, a male energy, and his name was Thomas. And we had this beautiful conversation about how I would be open to it if it really wanted to come in. And, we just had, I don't recall that one as deeply because it felt like it could go either way. And I remember leaving it I will leave it up to you. And the next morning I started my period. So that energy obviously didn't stick around. So when I saw this little girl, at that point I wasn't pregnant and I didn't feel like I wasn't late. I probably was actually on my period. So I thought, maybe it's coming down the line and maybe my sisters in the energy tribe have already seen the energy around me. So I interpreted it as that. And so I started talking to it and I asked, I said, are you wanting to come in? And it said yes. And it kind of brought me to this idea that although I was seeing it as a female little girl, it may not come in as a female in matter, that it could be a masculine body with a female energy. And, obviously that exists and there's many, many, especially now generations that are younger than mine, that exists everywhere. So I was like, oh, that's okay. I accept that. That's amazing. And so I kind of started to feel like it was more likely going to be a boy, but with this female energy. And the next thing it told me was, I want to name myself. And I was like, oh, okay. And so we started kind of talking about that. And I asked, what do you want to name yourself? And it said that it didn't know yet, but that it wanted to have an interim name, and that I would know that this was just a temporary name in order for it to come in, but that it, as it grew and into adulthood, it would know when it was time to change the name. So I was like, okay, what do you want to be called when you come? And this is so interesting because this ceremony actually happened right after I did the episode about archangels. And I think it actually could have been that very same week. So he said, or she said, arc, like ARCH. And I was like, okay. And basically then, not in words, but or telepathic communication, but in visuals, it showed me that an arc is a bridge. So when we talk about archangels, they're a bridge to ourselves, to the essences of ourselves that we're trying to embody. And in this naming of this child being called arc, it wanted it to symbolize the bridge of what it was going to bring in. So I was like, okay, I am on board with that. Great. So I think, and then the energy just moved to something else. But during the time that I was with that energy, we were playing, I feel like, on the beach, and it was very light and playful. So obviously after that ceremony, I told Richard, I was like, I think there could be another child coming. And, for us, because we've had so many miscarriages, it's never a happy conversation. I'll say that. It's always oh, really? And, like kind of embracing or bracing, I should say, for that to happen, which is just our story. And I'm not going to make it more than that, because I have gotten to a place where I accept that I am a vessel for these energies to come in for a short period of time and leave. But in the case of our personalities, it's hard to get attached or hopeful about something and then it leaving. So that's his energy about it, is that it's like, it's definitely a sad one, because he's seen me go through the complete opposite reactions where I've been devastated and depressed, and for him, he doesn't want, obviously, me to go through that. But I told him, yeah, and it told me that its temporary name is going to be Arc. And it's weird because the way it was pronounced is Arc, which is, it sounds like ARK, but it wanted to be spelled ARCH. And that it would eventually choose its own name. And he's just looking at me like, okay. Also, in that same ceremony was the night that I was shown that we were looking for property in the wrong location, and that we needed to change what we were looking for. And it was that very next morning that I was talking to Richard, and we went to breakfast, and that was the day. So it would have been the 19th that we 19th or 20th that we found this house. And that from that, it only happened because I was like, look, this is what I got. We're not looking in the right place. We're not looking for the right thing. So we completely switched up what we were looking for, and we found this that day. We were like, let's just go check and see what's out there. And then we ended up, our offer was accepted on that 2/22/22. So as we, all of a sudden this energy started moving really fast. And for me, the next step on this journey, I've explained all the things that happened with the house and all the synchronicities and all of the amazing earth angels that came in at that time. And also, then I encountered Ralph MacIntyre, which I have not really gone deeply into my reading with him because it was a very intense reading. I think I've told you guys that he's an astrocartographer. So I was just trying to find out about the land, and that's not at all what we talked about. And it ended up being a very tough love, and in all the right ways, and in a way like having a chance to speak directly to someone that saw all of my soft spots, all of the things that I haven't confronted in myself, or that I know I need to work on, but I push away. And a lot of those things are around holding myself in protection, and not just giving because I can give. And, I talked about this too. The give feels so amazing, but on the other side, you're kind of robbing the other party the feeling of that give, right? Because they're only receiving. And then it kind of balled into my relationship with my brother, and how he's the complete opposite. So Ralph was telling me everything that I need to do is I have to first say what's in it for me. And I have, such an extremely reaction to that. But I'm working on it. And that's why everything has slowed down, because every step that I take, I'm trying to bring nurturance to my soul first, which means that the output isn't as automatic. And even if I get messages, I don't just automatically share them, because there's like a hibernation that's happening, and I'm allowing it to percolate and nurture me first. And then like almost discerning, is this really something that I need to share? Or was that message really just for me to hold and to receive? And that's a process in itself, and learning how to do that, because I struggle immensely with that. But also then being in this land now, it's like I have space to ground that into my body, and to actually become more embodied, which we talked about last week, and all of the steps that I'm taking to ground back in and find that flow space again. So Ralph, I won't share the reading. I did record it, but it is super intimate. And all I can say is, if you're in a part of your journey that you feel like, and maybe you won't even feel this because I didn't feel this way, but where you needed things shooken up and like truth to be laid down on you, he's someone that can deliver that truth. And he told me, he basically says the most uncomfortable thing that they're telling him to say, and he's like cringes and he says it. And it's funny because he's a astrocartographer, but he's obviously connected to source, and he's a messenger. I mean, I feel like he's a walking angel in that way, where he's able to just deliver the arrows, but in a nurturing, explaining, helping you and your personality to get what he's saying. And maybe our conversation was 2 hours because it took me a long time to get what he was trying to deliver to me. But essentially it was that this land that that we moved to, or at the time we hadn't yet moved to, was supposed to be like a seclusion for me and Richard. And he's like, does the property have a gate at the top of the drive? And I said, yes. He's like, good, because you need as much protection as possible, and that's why you're being called here. And I'm like, what? I can protect myself. I know all about protection. And then so he brought in this idea of, if you have if Source has asked you to guard the door of one of your teachers meditating, who would you let in? What would you let in? And I was like, well, I would let it, whatever needed to go in, because that teacher would be sending out energy and receiving energy that it needed. So regardless of if it was dense or light, I would let it all through. And he was like, hold up. You already took it out of this planet and brought it into energetics, which automatically, speaks to who you are. But if Source told you, no, I want you to block anything, not dense, not light, all of it, could you do that? And that's really, that piece really took me so long to wrap around, because I've always believed that what comes up in this process is what we're here to work through, right? Like it's if it's shadow, if it's light, if it's someone else's stuff, I pull it in, I work with it, and I release it. And what he had me understand is that just because I can do that doesn't mean I should do that. Because again, everybody is here in their own karmic paths, working through their own karma. And even if something seems like it's easy for me to do and see in another, which again, we all are that way to some degree. We are the worst to see ourselves, and other people can reflect back to us more clearly who we are. But just because I can be that reflection, it doesn't mean that I should be. And I'm like, but what do you mean? That's my purpose here. I think my purpose here is to activate people and to get them to see themselves. And he goes, but why? Why do you feel like that's your purpose? And it all came back to me being a Neptune sun person. I always go back to, and it's funny because he used the exact same words of knowing nothing. And I said, that's interesting because I always feel that. Like I always feel I have to bring it back to that place of nothing. And he said, that's because when you're open and you know nothing, you can be everything. So even by me having the idea that I am here to activate other people and turn them on, that's closed. That's me putting a box around myself and saying, this is my purpose and that is what I'm here to do. So that means my boundaries are down. I'm letting, like, the whole idea of this house was to create retreats and to welcome that energy. And he brought up, like, do you really want other people's dense energies around you and in the land that you're at? And I was like, I think I can transmute it. And he goes, just because you can, again, going back to this point, just because you can, it doesn't mean that's what you're here to do. And I was like, a lot of this reading was just me really having to process. And I mean, I only just re-listened to this episode or this reading with him yesterday because I haven't been ready. I haven't been ready to rehear the teachings that he laid down for me. But and oh God, you guys, I'm still processing it, but I can see, because I have more removal, like I've pulled my energy back from a lot of the places that it was dispersed out to. So now I'm coming from a place of, I can now understand more logically where he was coming from versus from this place of, I just give it out, because that's why I can be a vessel to just give. So his point around this is, and I talked about this before, is that if you are just giving, he brought up this story of, like, if you were given seeds and water, and I think he said wood, to create what you're here to create in this lifetime. And this little old lady comes along and she's so dehydrated and all she wants is a glass of your water. Of course it feels good to give because, again, why wouldn't you, right? Like, why wouldn't you want to help out someone that's in need? So you give it to her. Well, then the next person comes along and they really need the seeds because they're dying of hunger. And so you give that away. And at the end of the time, you have nothing left to create what you came here to create in this time-space reality. So what he was trying to help me understand is that by me giving, constantly giving, I'm depleting myself from what I actually came here to do. So in his opinion, and I would say insights, all of the stuff that I've been doing up until this point has been needed because it's helped me find myself. It's helped me find a community. It's helped me find family, and it's grounded me. It's had me have an outlet, which weirdly I must have needed because even though I'm super introverted, I don't open up like this in person, and I needed this outlet. But it's just been a process, I guess. It's not why I'm here. And that's hard, like this is me 2 years into this is the third season, and thinking I knew what my purpose was, only to be told by this man who clearly we are connected in many lifetimes. Like, I saw him, I knew him. but he delivered stuff that I was like, it was hard. It was definitely a tough pill to swallow, and made me have to relook at my whole life, even why we're moving to this place, and I even haven't had this conversation with Richard because it's a hard one. It's really hard to kind of stop the momentum of what you thought you were here to do. So that to me has looked like, Richard kind of like giving me the nudges of, I think it's time. I think you need to do this. I think, and of course, when it's coming from outside of you, it feels like it's a push, a nudge. And I know that in order to create anything authentic, it has to be in flow. It has to feel like it's time. And it hasn't felt that. And I tell you guys, like, as soon as it feels that way, I'm going to do it. But it hasn't up to this point. And so having an external person, even though you love them, tell you like what they think you're ready to do, it's like you want to put on the brakes because it doesn't feel right yet. So it's hard. That conversation with him is ongoing, and I'm trying to help him understand I have to find my flow again to understand what I'm here to bring forward, and it's a process. So I had my Akashic records read yesterday, and that came out of nowhere too. It wasn't planned. It was I was listening to an old teachers of mine podcast, Lori Andros's podcast, which I don't even listen to that all the time, but I was painting the closets and I turned it on and I just felt a connection with the person she was interviewing and felt like the nudge that it was time, because it had been maybe over a year and a half since my last reading, which was with Lorena. This is the thing, even though I can connect to my own records, I have a bias, and sometimes I don't hear or want to hear the things that I need to hear. So, like I said last week, when you feel like you need help, there is nothing wrong with getting an outside perspective to reflect back to you. So that reading was interesting and basically kind of just, it confirmed what I already know, which is I'm in a resting period. I'm in an incubation. I am refiguring out everything, and having compassion for myself as I go through this is part of it. And also the idea to share this process is, again, this whole point of this whole journey is like demystifying what it means to be connected. So that was helpful. And then I don't feel like I'm there yet. I'm not completely centered yet. So then I reached out to my local shaman, and I am setting up a healing session with her because there's energy that I know is in my sacral that needs to move. And again, even though I can move others, I can't see the nuances of what needs to move through me for my own body. So that's another. So now I'm like reaching out, I'm asking for help and getting that support because I know that I need it. So then today, all of a sudden, I get the message that child that I saw back in February is me. It was never a baby. It was always me. And I'm the arc. And I am going to, I don't know if it meant that I'm going to pick my name, which I did. You guys know I changed my name, or if I will change it again. But I'm the bridge right now to that part of me. And what's so interesting, and then it all swooped around together to this moment of the move, Ralph, me feeling in the cocoon. All of it has been a process for what I saw in that journey of I am the little girl that's being reborn into something that's different from what I have currently known myself as. And again, going back to this place of I know nothing is really that, reinventing and rebirthing me. And I feel like from that place, there's creation. And now I feel like, that's what I'm here to create. That is where I'm here to birth through. And then it doesn't feel like this falseness of going backwards over lands that I've already traversed. It feels like a kind of bringing everybody along for the journey, right? Like helping everybody understand that we are constantly being rebirthed. And I always talk, I mean, I've done episodes about this, so you guys know that. But in that rebirth, it's literally when you're going over a steep bridge, you don't know where that leads, and you don't know what's on the other side. But it's because you're not supposed to. It's going to be a rebirth of something completely new, which, again, a renaming, a rebirthing, a celebration of that part of you. And so, yeah, I realized that, oh gosh, if you guys haven't already experienced ayahuasca, I know it's not for everyone, but man, can you get some deep insights. And like I said, that's almost 2 months ago that it took to get this full circle moment of I'm the baby, I'm the one. Because we always want to externalize, like, right? Like we always want to, oh, that's a matter. That's a physical premonition of what's to come, which it wasn't. It was always inside. And even when I think about the energy that the girls were seeing around me, it was this new part of me that's ready to be birthed. And I feel like grounded into this body. And it's going to take play, and it's going to take like cultivating the earth and my body and allowing that side, that little girl side of myself to hold space again, and not the serious, like this, I'm going to get this work done and move on to the next topic. So I feel really grateful, and I feel like the process is sometimes bumpy, and it's sometimes dark, and it sometimes makes you feel really lonely. And even this is coming from someone that is very connected. I never lost the downloads. They just felt like not mine to share, not mine to put out. And I didn't understand why. And in that Akashic Records reading yesterday, she said, look, right away I connect you. You're standing on the earth with your arms up, pulling down energy. And I said, that's so funny. My very first hypnosis session, that's who I am. And well, it was showing me a lifetime that most affects this lifetime. And her name was Hawa. And that's what I'm here to do, pull energy. So I can connect very easily. But that meant I was living only in my upper chakras. And this new bridge is to bridge it down, bring it down. And my mind now clearly understands that. And I feel just so grateful that I have these signs along the way to now come to a circle for me to see. It's been a process of the last 2 months of me understanding it. But all of the way there's been reflections from the outside that help me understand myself better, right? Like without Ralph, I wouldn't have slowed down. I would not have really got drawn in. And because once that retreat happened, I felt like more safe in my body to come down. That's a mind-blowing place right there. Think about that. All the energy that we put out into the world and we're constantly giving, let's say to your kids, to your coworkers, to your boss, to your partner, it's all outgoing threads that in order to embody and ground, you have to pull those back and retreat. And, it feels uncomfortable, and not only for ourselves, but for the people that are in our lives. Like they don't understand what's going on. Richard's kind of pushing me out of the nest feeling is from a place of love, but it's also from a place of he's seen me go inward, and he sees that light that I had for sharing and getting information out and being connected and running the circles retreated. And to him, again, from an outside perspective, that looks like a negative thing. But ultimately, that retreat was for me to regroup and find out what's the next phase, right? What's the next seedling that's ready to burst through the dirt. So even if someone outside of ourselves are reflecting to us that we're in let's say a depression, or we're not our normal drive self, you like taking that, still nurturing that space inside and knowing that it's happening for a reason. Oh God. It's funny that all of the things that we think are happening and we, hear people telling us about the journey and the process, it always feels like it's outside of our bodies and we're just bringing it into the headspace and trying to wrap the thinking mind around it. But it's so much more than that. It's more of a like total embodiment of the let go and the surrender to the nothing. Because I don't know, I look back, it's funny, Richard and I have talked about this, and we both feel like we've lived in this new house forever. Like we don't even resonate with the old house anymore. I don't even feel like I remember living there, which is just crazy because we've only been here like a month and a week. But there's like a time warp that happened for us both where life slowed down so deeply that I don't remember life before now. And I know that even in that process, it's living in the present and letting go of all the things that you've created and all the things that you stood for or that you thought you were. Like even that person to me, it doesn't exist anymore. I can't be that person anymore. And is that because I need to pull back and protect and nurture and hold that yummy goodness inside? Probably, because I think that there's something much bigger that needs to be birthed through this vessel. And if I am just giving away the water, the seeds, the wood, whatever, I can't hold anything. I can't ground it. I can't create from a place of fullness. I'm creating from a place of depletion. And I'm talking in the case of spiritual realm, but think about that in terms of just your normal everyday life. Are you doing things depleted and understanding that in that depletion, what's reflected back to you is depletion, right? Like there is no room for growth and there's no room for the richness and the fertilized earth to grow anything new because you aren't there. You yourself are not nurtured. So man, what has come through just in this day is that process is something that I want to teach. I want to teach what that means to really ground in and nurture yourself, not just from a level of this is the list that I've done, but actually explaining and understanding what each of these steps really does on an energetic level and on a frequency level and what actually is happening, so that these rituals or practices become more where you breathe it in and where you feel it, not just doing things because someone else has told you to do them. The only way that you can really embody any ritual is to feel the energetic exchange that happens after you do it. So yeah, I feel like that's where I'm more leaning to and where I feel drawn to is this feeling of really helping people commune again with themselves and with nature and slowing down. So I hope you guys, this story time was helpful. And I know like this whole journey with you guys has been me sharing as I'm going. But the point is to just let go of these myths that once we're there, we're there. We're not. And if you were, then what's the point of living? You should die then because there's no evolution. I think we're always evolving, and me included. And this is just one part of the evolution. And it feels like going back to the beginning is part of helping people see like it is not like a levels up the elevator. It is a circle. And that circle will always bring you back to the beginning when you're ready to go back to the beginning. So if you guys are interested, the next Energy Tribe circle is this coming Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific and 7 p.m. Eastern. If you aren't already signed up to receive the email and the link for Zoom, you can go to my website and the tab is called Tribe, and you just leave me your email address and I will email you the link to join us. this time I feel more embodied to hold something different. And I appreciate that in myself. And I also appreciate the slowdown. And I went from doing them every 2 weeks to now once a month, because it feels more in flow with where I'm at. So I hope to see you there. And again, I always love sharing myself with you guys.